We are back with yet another Between the Hashes episode here on the 515 Podcast Network, getting ready to talk some NFC East as we get ahead into the 2026
Ooh.
NFL season. But as always, joined by Brock Bierman, Braden Bankin, and myself, Dawson Livingston. Excited to talk some football as we inch closer. We start off every episode by asking the fellas how they're doing. Guys, how are we doing on this great Wednesday evening as we sit here on August 12th?
Let's just get this over with, man.
We're gonna have a lot of people attacking us. I feel like we hate this division.
This is this if Steelers fans had some problems with what we had to say
Man.
about them, this don't open the comment section on this one.
Yeah.
God
Or
forbid
do
the
if you
Steelers
wanna
have
laugh,
a low 500
'cause-
season.
Yeah.
This is gonna be fun.
Yeah. Everything else is good otherwise for you fellas? It's been a week since we last got together and recorded an episode, so
Yeah, I slowly getting used to my new apartment. As you can tell, the lighting's probably a little better. We're also doing this before the sun goes down, so that helps. I want to make sure, is my mic sounding good?
Yeah,
I
you're
know
good.
I have.
absolutely.
Okay, I know I have a history of sounding like I'm underwater, so definitely make sure to let me know if that happens.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, as we get closer to the season, I'm hoping that maybe something back here can add some more like character to my dull setting right
Yeah.
now, because it's literally just a gray backdrop, which I mean that's just the wall. While you guys have posters and jerseys and cooler stuff, so hopefully I can get there. But yeah, I'm ready to talk about everybody's favorite division to hate on.
Braden? Anything else to add?
I'm chilling, man. I guess people are playing in the hallway in
There we
in the
go.
background. I don't know if that's picking up on the mic or not.
Un poco.
A little bit. It's not the cat yet, so that's good. But we're only 2 minutes in. We got
Yeah.
about an hour and a half to go.
Yeah. Real quick before we start with the first team of this division, I want to talk just a smidge about the Hall of Fame game, and I want Brock's I want Brock's I want Brock's opinion, his thoughts.
want to do it.
You're gonna have to do it, man. The Cardinals have played football. You have to talk about it.
Yeah. My team doesn't play until Saturday, so
I
won't be able to
refuse.
talk about it. He pleads the fifth.
Carson Beck looked kind of okay there
Yeah.
for a second.
Yeah.
Okay, can I also say though, can both things be true where he did play better than I thought he would, but that deep pass that a lot of people were making highlights of wasn't as good as people thought it was. The guy almost got knocked out because it was not exactly where it needed to be, and I don't know if that was necessarily the quarterback's fault or the wide receiver's fault. So, yeah, I mean, if you want to talk about the game, the Cardinals found another way to upset me. That's pretty much my recap of the game.
In the Hall of Fame game, no less. That's impressive.
Literally. By
Is
the way,
it-
more viewership in that game alone than any NHL game this season, including the playoffs, I think, is what I saw, which makes it even better.
Wow.
That sounds about right.
That's
Makes it even
crazy.
better.
That's
I'm thriving. Thriving.
maybe we'll save the Hall of Fame game for like when we do the NFC West. I want Brock's full in-depth analysis, not play by play, but almost play by play for the Cardinals. And obviously, I think as we're recording, this is the fifth division we're getting ready to preview, and we knocked out the AFC East or the AFC, and we're starting with the NFC East tonight, fellas. Which the team that finished last in this division is the New York Football Giants. New York obviously made some key additions this offseason, signing linebacker Tremaine Edmonds from the Bears, citing tight end Isaiah Likely from the Baltimore Ravens, and bringing a familiar face back to New York, Odell Beckham Jr. back for 1 year. We'll see how that ends up going. They made a huge move in the offseason by moving on from Dexter Lawrence, and in return they got the 10th overall pick, which they used on Francis Maui-Noah. They used their 5th overall pick on linebacker Arvell Reese, linebacker / defensive end, however you want to look at it. Guys, this team went 4-13, the worst record in the NFC East last year. The question I have for you guys, and then we'll get into how the Giants season could potentially look, is how will the addition of John Harbaugh impact the Giants?
I think two things can be true with the answer to that question. In one, it's not going to get much worse than whatever Brian Daboll was doing. And two, John Harbaugh is past his prime as a head coach. Maybe I'm biased because I had the Ravens as a preseason top 5 team last year. Even with a loss, I think I still had them in my top 5 just because of how much talent is on that team. And as talented of a team as that was, they missed the playoffs because of John Harbaugh's coaching decisions at the end of the day. Whether you want to call it coordinator holding on to, we want to put it directly on Harbaugh, whatever you want to put it on, he kept that team out of the playoffs. So, I mean, like they made some additions. Like Isaiah Likely is a solid tight end. Haven't really seen him be a main tight end option. It'll be interesting to see how that goes. Patrick Ricard, the 300-pound fullback / D tackle, is in here. Like you said, they drafted Maui Noah, got Arvell Reese, who will likely just stay as an off-ball guy like he was at Ohio State for the majority of his career. A lot of guys thought he was going to end up going to edge rusher, but when you already have Brian Burns, Abdel Carter, Kayvon Thibodeau, the room's just a little bit full for that, so I'm sure he'll be fine there. Greg Newsome is somebody they also got. I don't know if he's been there or if that was an offseason addition, but he looked okay for the Browns. Granted, was alongside Denzel Ward, which is quietly one of the best corners in the league for the past couple of years.
Didn't he also play with Jacksonville last year?
Yeah, I believe they traded. It was just like Greg Newsome for Tyson Campbell, basically straight up, and both players looked drastically worse for it because they switched schemes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll see how that ends up going. But all that to say, does this roster look better than it did last year? Yeah. Is Harbaugh maybe a better coach than Daboll? Yeah. Do I think that this is going to be an equation to result in winning this division? No.
Ditto. I don't know if there's much you can really add on to that. You also got to add on to the questions of what was going to potentially be their star wide receiver for the next decade or so. What is Malik Neighbors going to look like this season after yet another person in New York has a season-ending injury on that turf? But again, we've had enough conversations about that stadium and that turf, which, by the way, completely had a different field for the World Cup, which I think we mentioned when we previewed the other team that is also residing in MetLife. But that's going to be my biggest question with this team going into it. I think their defense will be all right, as in, I think that their defense will help them actually stay in games more than other teams maybe in this division. And with that means that it gives Dart, Scattaboo, all these guys an opportunity to potentially make a name for themselves. I don't remember how much usage Juju Smith-Schuster had last year with the Chiefs, because I'm not going to lie, I completely checked out after everything kind of went downhill quickly. But he did sign with the Giants this offseason, so that's another wide receiver added to their room. So they have a lot of older guys paired with some younger guys. Don't forget that they also drafted Malachi Fields from Notre Dame in the, I think, 3rd round. So it's another wide receiver that they added. So their offense has a lot of question marks just because you're not really sure what you're going to get, because Cam Scattaboo also had a really gruesome injury his rookie year last year. And so you have, I guess, your two most popular or at least notable skill position players on the offensive side coming back from season-ending injuries. So this team is by no means going to compete for a division championship, nor are they going to get close to the playoffs. but I could see them making a stride towards getting closer to that 500 spot this year. I don't think they'll be over 500, but I think they'll get closer. John Harbaugh will be part of that. But again, Harbaugh has shown that he can only take a team so far. So what is a successful season for John Harbaugh may not be a successful season for the Giants, is what I'll say.
Yeah. We didn't even talk about the other addition that they made on the offensive line. Braden, your favorite tackle / guard / whatever you want to call your boy, Daniel Falalele. He
I don't know where I talk that much crap about Daniel Falalele? Like, he's bad.
Yeah.
But like I feel that's kind of one of those things that's like, yeah, man, people just know that.
But out of us three though, you easily bring him up
You're
the
our
most.
offensive line guru, man.
You are, dude. You got the all 22 out, and you're figuring out which offensive tackles are the next start. You were early on the Monroe Freeling train. Back in like January, you were like, "Hey, keep an eye out for Monroe Freeling, tackle out of Georgia." So we rely heavily on your opinion for the offensive line. Heavily,
I guess.
But no. All jokes aside, this team had some flashes last year. It's a fun team for sure. You'll have another year of Jackson Dart. Scadaboo, we'll see what he looks like coming back from injury. Same thing with Neighbors, like you guys mentioned. They did lose a couple players. They lost Wan'Dale Robinson to Tennessee, which Wan'Dale was playing meaningful snaps for him, and he was that pseudo wide receiver 1 when Neighbors went down, I think in like week 4 or 5 last year. So we'll see how the receiver room's going to look out. But this team was 17th in points for at 22 points per game, and they gave up almost 26 points per game. So the question is going to be their defense. Their defensive line is good, and it always has been, like Braden mentioned, with all those edge rushers. The question will always be like the linebacker core, and then I always have questions with their corners. I feel like their safeties have always been like passable because right now they have Javon Holland and Tyler Newman. Newman's okay, and Javon Holland's a proven entity with the Giants, who played in Miami previously. But if they can figure out that corner room, I'll feel a lot more confident about the Giants going forward. But I'm curious to see how this offense is going to gel. I mean, if Dart can build off of that year 1 momentum, if Scadaboo can come back strong, they have Darius Slayton, who's always a reliable option. They signed Calvin Austin from Pittsburgh. They signed Darnell Mooney from Atlanta. So, like, they have wide receivers. I don't know how many of these guys are necessarily going to carry on roster heading into this year, but they certainly have options, to say it. But the key, like you guys mentioned, is Harbaugh that much of an upgrade over what they had with Daboll? Daboll took him to the playoffs in year 1 when he was the head coach. Could we see something like that potentially with Harbaugh? This team has a good amount of talent around Dart, and I would assume New York feels pretty confident they got their franchise quarterback. Is that a safe assumption to make at this point, or am I getting a little too ahead of myself? That Dart is probably they believe their franchise guy.
Unless they can make a move for a top 5, top 10 quarterback in the league right now, I think that they're going to at least try to make him the franchise quarterback. Now, can he? Maybe. Is he right now, like, in terms of where I see him? No, I think he could be a good quarterback, though. That doesn't mean he can't be a good quarterback, but you need an elite quarterback to be able to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah,
Right.
I'll kind of just piggyback off of that. I think he's a fine quarterback. I think he can prove to be like average, middle of the pack quarterback. Do I think that he's like, oh, he's the Giants' savior? He's the next Eli Manning. He's winning this team a Super Bowl? No. Right now, I would say no. But he does have potential. I will say, like, athletically, the tools are there. Will this Giants organization be able to develop him into that type of guy? I don't know if I have that type of faith.
I think he's good enough for the Giants, at least this upcoming draft, to be like, hey, we don't need a quarterback. At least we don't need to take one within the first 2 or 3 rounds, if that makes sense. It's not like talking about another year 2 quarterback. We already talked about Cleveland quite a bit. Like, if they name Shador the starter, like, I still think, regardless of how good Shador plays, unless he balls out and he's like a top 5 quarterback in the league, they're probably still going to take quarterback. Like, I feel pretty confident saying that. Whereas I feel like New York, they kind of like what they saw with Dart. Granted, where those two were selected is vastly different. Dart was like the 20-something overall pick. Shador was a 5th-round pick. So it's different in investment for that reason. But I feel like New York, at least right now, is content where they are at the quarterback position. And they even have everyone's favorite backup quarterback in the league, Jameis Winston. So who doesn't love that? Didn't he catch a touchdown last year for the Giants, or am I making that up?
Jameis? Yeah, he did.
He like stiff armed someone too, like
He mossed a Lions corner, stiff armed somebody,
and then ran it in.
Ran it in.
Yeah. So at least I'll say this: while I don't know they'll be like playoff contender this year, this will be a fun team. Like we talk about like on the Hardwood Combos show, like league pass teams. Like, this is an NFL Sunday ticket team. Like, if your favorite team's not playing, the Giants could potentially be fun to watch. But
never forget, everybody in my fantasy draft made fun of me for drafting Cam Scattaboo. And for that first half of the year, it was the greatest thing in the world because he was guaranteed at least 1 touchdown a game. Second half of the year, we don't talk about.
And as somebody who had Tyrone Tracy on their dynasty team, I was pissed. Yeah. But then Scattaboo went down. It's like, okay, well, I mean, this isn't really what I had in mind, but like, I'm not gonna say I'm mad about it.
Right.
Yeah. Dart would have to be in a the Giants would have to be so lucky to build a roster similar to what the Seahawks did last year. For Dart, I feel like to be able to win a Super Bowl or contend for a Super Bowl at any point as a quarterback for this team. So I guess I'm kind of putting him in the similar boat of like the Sam Darnold level is kind of where I can see him peaking at in terms of like where he could be as a quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, sorry, I just got a little distracted. I lost my train of thought. Oh, the next question I was going to ask you guys, and then we'll get into where you guys think they'll finish record-wise. Do you think the loss of Dexter Lawrence on this defense, do you think that's going to be a bigger loss than we realize? Or do you think the Giants will like find a way to like overcome it? Because like obviously in that trade, they ended up getting the 10th pick, which they used to select Maui Noah. Do you think like they gained more than what they traded away in getting Maui Noah and potentially being the guard of the future? Or do you think that void at defensive tackle is still going to hurt them this upcoming season?
I think it will, man. With the defense that they run, they have like basically 3 defensive tackles on the field at all times, and their edge rushers are all like fairly light. So like Darius Alexander is going to need to have a big bump up from last year. DJ Reader's not bad. Shelby Harris has had his moments, but you add all 3 of those guys together, they're barely half of what the type of player that Dexter Lawrence is. And Lawrence did have kind of an off year last year, but still, I think he has the type of impact on a team that I don't think you necessarily even see in the stat sheet. He's just that type of guy. So, yes, I think that will matter a lot especially like in the run. That's going to be a big loss for them.
Not again, I completely agree. Not on the same page of production when it comes to Myles Garrett, but like the Browns are going to really realize how big of an impact he really did have just being on the field. Yes, he had the sacks and all that, the sack record and all that, but like just being on the field at the same time causes an issue sometimes for other teams. And not having Dexter Lawrence just on the field, having that presence of one of the star defensive linemen in the league will definitely affect the production, if not the success of this defense. I do think that there is a world, though, where maybe this team, with some of the additions, were able to kind of, I don't know if putting a Band-Aid on it is a good term for it, where like you're trying to fix the issue by just adding a bunch of guys. If it gels together, maybe they have something, but it's hard to just trade someone like that and not see a glaring hole in what you used to have on the defensive line.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you guys with that take. But the last thing we're going to talk about the Giants, and we'll move on to the next team. Guys, where do you have their floor, ceiling, and their expected win total for the Giants heading into the 2026 NFL season?
Here's the thing, man. Like, yeah, again, like I've said, overall, I would say that this roster improved and the coaching staff improved. Look at this schedule, dude. There's not a lot of, like, yeah, these are wins for the Giants. I'm looking at, like, probably 3 that are like, yeah, they're getting that, and then maybe they sneak out one more as their floor. I'd say the floor is right where they were last year at 4-13. That feels crazy, but again, this is a rough schedule. You're looking at starting the year versus Dallas at the Rams, and then Tennessee, Arizona at home. Those are probably your wins. And then at Washington, New Orleans, at Houston, at Philly. Like, this is a gauntlet of a schedule. So, yeah, floor 4-13, ceiling, maybe they could squeak out like 8 wins. Realistically, probably closer to like 5. This is just this is a again, rough schedule. Team I don't have enough faith in to be like, yeah, no, they're going to really be able to right the ship and make like a playoff push.
I feel like Braden and I are on the same wavelength at this point. Same exact thing. Kind of floors where they were last year with 4 wins. I don't know if I could see them winning 8. I had them like right around 7 for their peak. Their schedule is really tough. I only had one game where I actually put where I feel like 80+% confident that they'll win. And then I have their season finishing around 5-10, or 5 and what would
12.
that be? 5-12. Sorry.
Yeah. The Giants right now, their like opponent winning percentage is 16th for the upcoming season. So like literally middle of the road. Their opponent winning percentage is 49.8%. So like around 500. The tough part with their schedule though is all of their like tough games are on the road. Like that week 2 game against the Rams. You could probably chalk that one up as a loss. I feel like that's a fair assumption. Take away the division games because they have to play those every single year regardless. But then they have to go at Houston. They have at Indianapolis, which Indianapolis is kind of an unknown. I mean, we'll see what we get with Daniel Jones. And I know they've had some injuries at receiver this camp. But we'll see. They're still a tough team. They still can run the ball effectively. And then they have at Seattle, who just won the Super Bowl. And then at Detroit. Like, those games, there's not an easy road game outside of the division play. Like, if you want to say the Commanders and Giants split and the home team wins both times, I'll that's a valid take. But outside of the division away games, that just looks like 4 losses right there. 5 losses. I mean, it doesn't look like an easy game on the road at all. I am probably in the same boat as Braden. I think 4-13 is probably their floor. Which is weird because, like Braden's mentioned multiple times, this team's made a lot of offseason additions, and theoretically you would think they'll be better because they have whatever you want to call a head coach. If you want to say it's an upgrade, if you want to say it's a lateral move, I'm here for all takes at this point about Coach Harbaugh. And then ceiling, I might have a little bit of a wider range of outcomes. I'd say maybe 8 wins is their ceiling, assuming they win some of those tough road games. And let's say Dart takes another step forward and Neighbors is able to stay on the field. And that defense is able to like get stops and not be the 6th worst scoring defense in the league. The over-under win totals for the Giants heading into 2026 is set at 7.5, and the odds are the exact same on either side. So there's not one side leaning super heavy versus the other. So yeah, there's that for you. Do you guys have anything else on New York before we move on to the next team in line?
Not really. I will say though, how ESPN has this receiver like depth chart is interesting to me because I feel like Darnell Mooney and Malachi Fields should probably be their 2 and 3. That's just my opinion. We'll see how it ends up shaking up, but I would imagine at some point in the year, their 3 would be probably Neighbors, Mooney, Fields, in whatever order you want to put them in.
Yeah.
Just as far as talent goes.
Yeah. I think OBJ is a cool story, and he might have a few cool snaps, but if you're telling me in the year 2026 that Odell Beckham Jr. is gonna play meaningful football, you
Maybe
kinda
in
lose
the
me
Olympics in a couple years.
there. Maybe playing flag football in 2028. I could sign off on that. But well, if that's all we have to add for the Giants, then let's move on to the third place team, which was the Washington Commanders. The Commanders,
Real quick, but go ahead and start. Oh, you guys are going.
after a couple technical difficulties, we're back. And we're here to talk about the Washington Commanders. The Commanders have made some key additions this offseason, also retaining some talent. The first move they did, signing offensive tackle Laramie Tunsil, 2 years, $60 million. As of, I think, a week ago, I think he's out for the year or out for the significant portion of this season. Am I wrong on that, Braden?
Yeah, from what it looks like, I think we were saying before we hit start, he's out for what 4 to 6 months. So you're looking at probably just the season.
Yeah.
Big loss.
So, yeah, because when he's healthy, he's one of the best left tackles out there. And the Commanders spent a lot of draft capital to get him into Washington. But they also made some other additions. They signed Odea Owe, the defensive end from the Chargers, 4 years, $96 million. They signed linebacker from Kansas City Chiefs, Leo Chanel, 3 years, $24 million. And they had the 7th overall pick in the draft, I believe. Selected linebacker Sonny Styles out of Ohio State. And in the 3rd round, they selected Antonio Williams, the receiver out of Clemson. Guys, this team finished 5-12, 3rd place in the NFC East last year. And the question I have for you, is Dan Quinn on the hot seat if the Commanders struggle?
I hadn't really thought about that much. I mean, yeah, that feels kind of crazy because like they make the NFC Championship in 2024.
Yeah.
And I mean, they go 5-12 last year, but I feel like they could probably just chalk that up to Jayden Daniels only played in 7 games last year. But like, you look at the offensive line, and it didn't exactly get a ton better. If anything, especially now that Tunsil's gone, it got worse. So, I mean, if you're losing Daniels 2 years in a row, I feel like Commanders fans are getting flashbacks that they don't want to be getting flashbacks to, and people are going to need answers. You would have thought I'd have my technical difficulties figured out by now, but whatever.
I think that there is a world where Washington might be looking for a new head coach this offseason. Yeah, Dan Quinn had a really good first year back as a head coach with the Commanders. It helps that you had Jayden Daniels healthy, and that will be a key part to the season for Washington is whether or not Daniels can stay healthy. Because if he's not healthy, they're not going anywhere. They might as well just call it a season. They won't even get the 5 wins like they did last year if he plays the same amount, if not less. They lost Cliff Kingsbury. I mean, it sounded like I think it was a mutual agreement to like part ways with each other, which I think when we were talking before we started recording, he's been with Jayden Daniels most of, if not his entire post-high school career. So that's something to keep an eye out for as he gets ready to have his first season without one of the I think one of the more impressive historic quarterback minds, at least, in NFL or just football history in general. I mean, you can look back to his days being the OC at Texas A&M as a great reference to that. But yeah, I think that there's a good chance that Dan Quinn's no longer the head coach of Washington next year. And I don't even think it's necessarily Washington's fault because no offense to Washington, they're not a good market. Not many people want to go play for Washington. And then at the same time, when you're one of those teams and you're not like losing all of your games, but you're not winning over half of your games, you get stuck very easily. I mean, just look at the Panthers before they got Bryce. Like, let's be honest. After that Super Bowl run, they got stuck pretty quickly in that area.
Oh yeah, but they're making moves.
Yeah. So, it's not necessarily Dan Quinn or the Commanders' fault. I just think that they're in an interesting spot where I think they're going to get stuck real quick, and he'll be the scapegoat, or at least the first person that they choose to put the blame on. And if you look at the schedule, similar to the Giants, it's not that easy for them. And it's going to be a gauntlet for them. I have one game again, over 80%, where I feel like that they have a good chance of winning. And outside of that, it's going to be hard for them to muster up a lot of wins. I don't think they even get close to their win total from last year. But that maybe I'm more pessimistic than you guys are.
Yeah, this team's interesting because like when Daniels was healthy, they were 3-2. They just beat the Chargers 27-10. Like they looked pretty good that week, and then they didn't win a game until week 15 after that. And that game was against the Giants, who, like I said in the Giants preview, like you could chalk this year up where the home team just wins each of those games. But they had some pretty gnarly losses last season. They lost to Miami in overtime, and now knowing what Miami is this upcoming year, that's not a great loss on your resume. They lost 31-0 to Minnesota last year, which is...
I forgot about that.
Yeah. But they had some close ones. They took Denver in overtime, and they only lost by a point, and Denver ended up going to the AFC title game. So, like, there are ups and downs with this team for sure. I'm curious to see, as of, I think, a week ago, as we're recording, they signed wide receiver Stephon Diggs. So we'll see how, like, his addition to this offense is going to help Daniels. Because now you'll have Terry McLaurin, you'll have Stephon Diggs. I think you even still have Traylon Burks and Diami Brown. Like, you still have, like, okay weapons on that side of the ball. Running-wise, they don't have Antonio Gibson, so it's Bill Krosky-Merritt again this year. They signed Rachaad White out of Tampa Bay, so him and Daniels were college teammates at one point, so that's not nothing, to say the least. But the key is going to be that offensive line, and if they're able to come together as a group, especially with no Tunsil, and see how they're able to protect Daniels, because if he goes down, the whole team is going to struggle, and we saw that last year. But
do you guys have any real hope about this team this year at all? Like, do you see anywhere where like this could be a good season for them?
I mean, if Daniels can overcome the bad offensive line, and hopefully Terry McLaurin doesn't get traded, because I think, is his trade request still like active? I think so.
I'm not sure.
I mean, McLaurin, Diggs, and I would assume Antonio Williams will probably end up passing Luke McCaffrey in the depth chart, but maybe I'm just putting too much stock in these rookie receivers. Like, that's, with Chigakonkwo also, it's not like an awful receiving room to throw to, but like, yeah, I just don't know, man. This is just a weird team overall, and not even just looking at the offense. Like on defense, this team's kind of just like a lot of linebackers and not great much else. Like Odafe had a pretty solid year after being traded away from Baltimore. Frankie Louvu, I think, is solid. Sonny Styles was one of, if not my favorite prospect coming out of this class. Leo Chenal, they paid a good amount of money to. I would assume he's going to start over Caleb Chason. There's about no way that's a starting caliber player in the year of our Lord 2026. But
He played good last year for New England. He didn't play bad.
He was okay, but he's not better than Leo Chenal. In looking at their safeties, those are special teamers. Jeremy Reeves made an All-Pro as a special teamer 2 years ago, and Nick Cross is a perennial backup safety. And the corner room has always been a problem, and looks like it will continue to be a problem unless Mikey Sanders still really starts to step it up a bit.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how this team does and what they would consider a successful season, because the pieces don't fit anywhere. None of it makes sense. Make this team make sense to me is kind of the question I have going into the season, because no offense to Dan Quinn, again, I think this is just where the cards fell, but he doesn't necessarily fit with the team, because I feel like Jayden Daniels needs a offensive-minded coach to help him reach the next level, especially if Washington thinks he's the franchise quarterback over the next 5 years. At the same time, defense, I think, needs Dan Quinn because it's a mess. And if there's anyone that can maybe figure out a defense to just work with what he has, it is Dan Quinn, because you got to remember he was a really good defensive coordinator over those years in Dallas. Dallas had some good defenders, obviously, but still, Dan Quinn had a huge part in the success of that development of that defense. Excuse me. But it's I don't know. This team just doesn't make any sense to me.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, second edition of technical difficulties tonight. Apologies, but
This one was so bad the cat had to get involved.
yeah, so definitely had to fix that, or hopefully fix it. I guess we'll find out, as the guys will yell at me if my audio's still messed up. So, but I believe we left off by asking you guys your win totals and where you think the Commanders could fall in the 2026 season. So give me your floor, your ceiling, and what you think right now the record for the Commanders will be in 2026.
I'm going to put the floor at 5-12 again. I struggle to see how this could get much worse than it did last year, considering the injury to Jayden Daniels and the fact that the defense did get better. Albeit maybe not a ton better, but it did get better. But again, same thing with the Giants. This is not exactly a favorable schedule, just looking at it. So I don't know how much room there is to get a ton better. I will give them, a lot of these games are kind of just toss-ups more than they are maybe these are for sure losses. I'll give them 10-7 as a ceiling. Maybe a little high, but it like I kind of said earlier, if Jayden Daniels can figure it out with the receiving room, maybe there's something there. But that's everything is clicking on all cylinders type of situation. Realistically, you're probably looking at more like 6 wins, probably.
You got way more faith than I do in this team. Oh, Lord. It makes me wonder if I really don't know anything.
Well,
Which is probably...
I don't know. Maybe I just have too much faith in Jayden Daniels to just make it happen.
So, what was your floor again?
The floor was 5-12. Jayden Daniels only played 7 games last year. He can play more games than that.
My ceiling is 6.
Ooh. Wow, okay. I like this, though. It feels like pretty much all these have been fairly the same. We need to have some sort of disagreements.
Yes.
So, here are three games that I could see them winning. At least 50-50 to very confident. At Arizona, both New York games, and at Tennessee. So that's 4. I'm trying to find at more than 2 more wins after that. And the remaining games.
Who knows what's happening in Atlanta right now with the quarterback room? The rest of that team is kind of pretty good, but who knows? Kyler Murray is only good for so long as a quarterback, and then you have to deal with 9 again. And I feel like Jacksonville's going to regress a pretty good amount. So, like, I feel like there's a chance that they win at least 2 of those 3. There's a chance. Okay. Not much, but there's a chance.
So, so that reassures me a little bit about... I know that you have more hope in this team, but that reassures me a little bit, I guess, of my ceiling being 6.
Yeah, like, I see where you're coming from with that, but
their schedule sucks.
Yeah. I think my hope is a little more in just the sense of I don't really know how a lot of these teams are going to end up, especially by, like, late in the year. So, who's to say things can't just happen?
That's true. And, like, I know that you mentioned... So, like, some of the games you mentioned that they could win. At Minnesota, I know that Kyler might not be there. There's just something about Minnesota at home that just always seems to cause issues for certain players, especially young quarterbacks. At Jacksonville, I feel like it's one of the more underrated home environments, at least in recent memory, assuming that they don't regress. This is me putting home field advantage into play for a lot of these as well. But you do have Atlanta at home, so I could see you getting the win against Atlanta. Indianapolis, maybe, because Indianapolis is one of those teams that I think could easily flip a couple games. But yeah, I'm gonna stick with 6 wins as the peak for them. I am actually going to change my overall record by 1 game. My floor is going to be around, if everything falls apart, actually 3 wins, and that's where I say Dan Quinn probably won't be back here next year. That's where I'm getting at from all the way back at the beginning of this conversation. I'm going to put their record either right at the same record that they had last year at 5-12, or 1 below at 4.
Yeah, I know I did say, 10-7 is their ceiling. Even with saying that, look, there is a non-zero chance that they start the season 0-9. Like, that's possible. 0-10.
Yep.
Like, you
0-11
at Philly, at Dallas, versus Seattle, Indy, New York, at San Fran, Philly, Rams, at New York, versus Cincinnati.
I swear if their first win is against Arizona.
It's not impossible.
I know. We're going to be every bad team's first win of the season this year. We have
what
New
it
York.
Is I'm just hedging my bets so that way if they're really good, I can call that. And if they somehow are 0-10 going to Arizona and win that game, I have that one too. I really can't lose.
I lose both times.
You sure do, buddy. You got to learn how to hedge your bets, my friend.
Life of an Arizona
I did the wrong hedging. Oh, by the way, if you guys haven't caught on, Arizona is the only team on both the Giants and the Commanders that I have with an 80% chance that they win.
When we get to the NFC West episode, I would be shocked if I don't see 0-17 as a floor.
Oh, that's their ceiling.
Brock really wants either Arch Manning or Dante Moore.
After what I saw in that dang Hall of Fame game, dude, I'm done.
Jeremiah Smith,
I don't think that's saving you.
Jeremiah Smith, you are an Arizona Cardinal. You will rot.
What's like the funny
Jr.
option that's like realistic for the Cardinals to take at number 1? What could be the funny?
Lenore Sellers somehow wins the Heisman.
Yeah, Lenore Sellers.
Yeah, that would be pretty funny.
Trinidad Chambliss.
No, Chambliss would be the
Rocco
funny.
Beck.
That would be the funny.
Yeah.
Oh, things that are like feasibly possible.
Rocco Beck.
That I can't even put that at feasibly possible. There's no way.
Not at 1, no.
Not at 1. 101.
That would be basically
maybe like in the third round.
I was gonna say that would be next year's Carson Beck right there. Just be like,
absolute ceiling third round.
Yeah.
And that's just because they see, Penn State quarterback. Those surely haven't ended poorly all the time,
Clifford.
every time ever.
Hey, one of them had a very good song named
Christian
after him.
Hackenberg.
But yeah, 4 or 5 wins is what I got for the Commanders.
As I say, we still got quite a while before we come out with our actual division takes. I mean, these are just like we're throwing it out there, but we'll have an
Yeah.
episode either the week of the NFL season or the week before coming out with
Where we lock it in.
Yeah, where we actually put pen to paper and humiliate ourselves.
Just
when
like
one
Drew
of us
Lock.
eventually. There we go.
Sorry.
This Brock Meerman's getting in the backpack right now. But, Braden, you mentioned it. The start of their schedule is brutal. I mean, I don't know if I'll go as far as like 0-9 to start. But man, outside of the Giants games, I don't really see a win other than the Colts. Really don't. Because I don't think they're going to beat Philly either time. They might make Dallas that one interesting because they won. Or no, I'm thinking of the Giants. Yeah, they'll probably lose that one. I was thinking of the Giants and how they won in week 2 last year. That's on me. It's the Russell Wilson moonball. That's what I keep remembering. There's
Did
just
they
not a whole
win?
lot of.
That was tied.
I don't really know how to feel about this team going forward. If Braden's right and McLaurin still is that trade request is out there, and your wide receiver 1 is Stephon Diggs and Luke McCaffrey and Traylon Burks, I just can't really get behind the Commanders. I'll set their floor at 4-13. They fire Dan Quinn. Season's over. Ceiling, kind of like the Giants. For me, they have like a couple different outcomes of how the season could play out. I think 9 wins could be their ceiling. Just because, like, the latter half of their schedule is winnable. Like, there are games on there that's like, hey, you can feel confident about winning that game. The Arizona game, the Tennessee game, you have Houston at home. We don't really know what to think of Houston with Stroud. They've been up and down the last few years. Atlanta, Braden mentioned, who knows what their quarterback situation's looking like. Minnesota, will Kyler be starting that far in the season? Maybe, probably. Who knows? Jacksonville, I think we all think Jacksonville is kind of a regression candidate, but that one is on the road. So, like, if they can get through week 9 and they're not, like, winless, I could see a realm where they could start rattling off some wins and make that record a little bit closer to 500. But I think right now they might win one more game than last year. I think they'll be 6-11 in this year, and I don't really like defensive-minded head coaches anymore. I think if you really want Jayden Daniels to develop as an NFL quarterback, you got to get someone in there that can call plays. But yeah, I don't really know what to think of the Commanders. It's not really a team that I have a whole lot of interest in watching outside of Jayden Daniels, but yeah, their over/under win total this year, I believe, is 7.5. So it's just like the Giants. So the public kind of thinks these teams are like we mentioned, they're neck and neck, finishing for probably the bottom of the division, assuming that we all have the same opinions on the Cowboys and the Eagles. But yeah, do you guys have anything else to add on this one before we move into the next team?
Not here. No, this is a team right here.
This is a
Certainly.
team.
This is one of the teams of all time. The Washington football team. Can we bring that back, please?
No.
Please. That
They
was starting
should
to
have
grow.
been.
That was starting to grow.
They should have been DC Football Club, DCFC.
It's too close to soccer.
I don't care.
I don't either, but some NFL purist might disagree with that one. I don't know. But also, it's kind of hard to brand when your team name is the football team. It's just a little tough to get people to buy jerseys. But we're going to be moving on to the team that finished second in the NFC East last year. The Dallas Cowboys. Everyone's favorite team, America's team. They certainly made some splashes this offseason, trading for defensive end Rashawn Gary from the Green Bay Packers, signing safety Jalen Thompson from the Cardinals, I believe, 3 years, $33 million, re-signing offensive tackle Terrence Steele, 3 years, $33 million, and arguably getting the best player in the draft at pick 12 in Caleb Downs, or pick 11, I believe. I know they traded up one spot to get Downs to ensure they got him. And then with their second first-round pick, the pick they got for trading Micah Parsons last year, they selected Malachi Lawrence, the defensive end, out of UCF. Guys, this team is always all bark but no bite when it comes to like the offseason hype. But I am asking you, as this team finished 7-9 last year, or no, that's not right. That math does not math.
7-9-1.
Yeah, 7-9-1. I knew I was missing a game. Good call. But my question for you guys is, did the Cowboys do enough this offseason to fix the defense?
I mean, maybe, I guess. Like you said, Downs is a baller. Quinnen Williams is really good as well. Rashawn Gary has had his moments. Kenny Clark has had his moments. They got D. Winters for basically free, which, I mean, again, certainly had his moments, but the other direction. Yeah, man. Malachi Lawrence also is an interesting little prospect they got. I don't know, man. This is a unit. This is definitely a unit. I will say offensively, Javonte Williams somehow stayed an entire season healthy last year. They're going to need him to do that again because the options behind him are Jaden Blue, Phil Maffa, and Malik Davis. So, unless they're going to move Joe Milton to running back,
Ooh,
I don't know how that's going to work.
that'd be interesting.
Do you want a funny response?
I want
think
your serious response and then your funny
first.
response.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do think that they made some good moves on the defensive side this offseason. Not getting again, hard to replace Micah Parsons. Obviously, looking back at now what happened with Micah Parsons this past season with the injury may not look as bad of a move getting rid of him, but I think they did a decent job, and I think they did really well with their draft picks. I think their first 3 draft picks were all defensive players, so that's a good sign. They are admitting that their defense is a huge reason why they were taking a step back. But again, it's hard to put trust or put stock into the Cowboys because it seems like something always falls apart with this team at some point in the year. They'll have a loss that slips them up that is just the first domino of a streak of losses or injuries or whatever it may be. I do think that they're going to be competing, though, for a playoff spot and potentially, depending on how the Eagles do, a division championship this year.
Yeah, real quick, I have to correct this because I'm sure some Cowboys faithful will just rip us apart, which big scary of that one.
What's new?
The tie.
You can go watch the
Packers.
Dodgers.
Yeah, go watch the Dodgers, the Lakers, and the Yankees right there. There's the quadfecta. Is that a?
Yeah.
I don't know.
As a Dodgers fan, I support it.
But the tie that I forgot to add on the record was against the Packers last year. So.
Okay, so it was the Packers, not the Giants.
Yep, that game was in week
4. Tied.
They won 40 to 37 in week 2.
Okay.
Which, yeah, but I just had to correct myself because I was driving myself nuts trying to figure out what game they actually tied. But this team's made some splashes. They re-signed Quinnen Williams too, which I forgot to add on this graphic. Like 3 years, $103 million to make him stay around. They signed Kobe Durant, the corner from the Rams, who, if you're a corner on the Rams last year, you just didn't play well. So we'll see how that ends up playing out. 2 moves that they've made / haven't made. the one they made, they re-signed Brandon Aubrey, who is the best kicker in the NFL. And if you play fantasy football, he will go oddly high in fantasy drafts this year just because of how accurate he is and how of a sure thing he is scoring points every week. I know this isn't a fantasy podcast, but like Brandon Aubrey's really, really good at kicking the football. And then the other move that they haven't made / have made, they franchise tag Pickens, and he's going to play on the tag. So we'll see. We'll see if Pickens is able to replicate the season he had last year, where he had well over 1,000 yards. It was probably the better receiver between him and CeeDee Lamb. I don't know if that's a crazy take to say. I know he kind of tailed off towards the end of last season, but was just making plays, especially because CeeDee missed a couple games, I believe, earlier in the year. And Pickens really showed that he is that true alpha number one, or he has the potential to be at least. So I'm curious to see if that franchise tag situation has any impact on the season, or if Pickens is going to be a good trooper and just says, hey, I'm going to play on the tag, but I'm going to be a free agent next year. So those are two storylines I'm watching out for. They signed Mr. Marquez Valdez-Scantling, who's had a history of playing with MVPs. Aaron Rodgers, Patty Mahomes. I mean, it's not nothing. But, yeah, this team, the one move I absolutely love was when they selected Caleb Downs. I mean, Downs arguably was the best player in the draft, talent-wise. I mean, positional value, safety, 12th overall or 11th overall, can kind of be a reach, but Downs is that good of a player. And I kind of, hated that he went to Dallas, but the more I thought about it, I'm like, it kind of makes sense. They needed safety help. They needed to bolster up that secondary. But this defense honestly doesn't look bad. And when Dak plays an entire season, they're the number one offense. I think 3 out of the last 5 years, or 5 times he's played, I think at least 15 games, they've been in top 2 offense in terms of yardage and scoring. So, if they can get a healthy season out of Dak, that now they have year 2 of Javonte, they have Pickens and CD coming back, they made additions to this defense, I think this team can vie for winning the division. I mean, we'll get to your guys' thoughts on how many wins you guys think they'll have this year, but I think this team certainly can shock some people going forward, and I might be drinking the Kool-Aid just a little bit on the Dallas Cowboys. But what is your guys' floor, ceiling, and expected win total in 2026 for Dallas?
I will put the floor same as it was last year. Well, I guess technically not, because they had the tie at 7-10. I mean, yeah, schedule doesn't look as bad as Giants or Commanders. Granted, that's because they have to play the Giants and Commanders instead of the Cowboys. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't look like the craziest schedule, but certainly is not easy either. Ceiling, I'll put at what I have here. I'm reading this number. I don't know if I agree with that or not. But you know what? This is what I wrote down. I'm going to say it. I guess I have 12-5.
There we
and
go.
Yeah, you know what? That makes sense. I don't hate that. The defense, I do think took a couple steps up. Would I say that it's fixed? I don't know. But I think that this offense, if it can stay healthy, does have the firepower to be able to make up for that, as we saw a good amount last year. I mean, they had one of, if not the best offenses last year, mainly because they had 2 wide receiver ones out there. That was helping them out a lot. But yeah, I think there's something here. I'll put realistic at probably 10-7. There's a chance a good chance they probably make the playoffs. Will they win a game? Probably not, because it's the Cowboys post 1990. But they could at least make it.
They might win a game, but that would be the wild card game. They might get to the divisional round and then lose.
Yeah.
But if they have a good enough record where they have the bye, which I don't see, but just that hypothetical, no, they will not win that game.
And before a Cowboys fan tries to head to the comment section and be like, listen, the Cowboys have won a Super Bowl more recently than the Niners, I really don't care and didn't ask, buddy.
Shout
True.
out the Chicago Cardinals for the whatever championship they won in like 19 whatever
When mailmen and plumbers played, yes.
when I think they were still using when the term pigskin was an actual pig.
Yeah.
Um, sorry, Braden, did you finish your full
Yeah,
predictions? Okay.
I said my piece. If I say any more, I'm gonna get pitchforks outside my window.
I think I might be drinking the Kool-Aid this year, boys. If everything works, I see them actually winning. If everything works and other teams fall, again, everything, both them and other teams have to work their way to reach this. I could see them winning 13 games.
Right.
There's a route where I could see them winning 13 games. That's the peak, though. I also could see them having another year with either injuries or just streaks of losses, and they finish with 8 or 9 wins as their lowest point. I have them right now sitting around 10, 11, leaning more towards 11 for what I expect them to do this year. I think there's a good chance that they could sweep at least one, if not two, of their division rivals. Those being the two that we've already talked about. And then if you pick up one against Philadelphia, you're already at 5 wins right there. That's a good sign. Let alone if you could win 2 against Philadelphia. They're not going to go undefeated in the division. It's rare that teams do that, if ever. But if everything works, whew.
Gosh, I thought I was going to be the
Cowboys
lone.
fans.
I thought I was going to be the lone soldier on this take, but I guess we're all in agreement that. Gosh darn it, I do not want to believe in Dallas. I remember when Brock and I started this podcast 3 seasons ago in the 2023 season. Our first Super Bowl pick, I had Chiefs, Cowboys.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about that.
And since then, I have been anti-Cowboys just because they burned me so bad in that season. I know they made the playoffs that year, but I think that's the year that Jordan Love ended up smoking them 40-20 in Dallas, and
took
after
him to the woodshed.
Yeah.
For the record, if we end up doing the it seems like we're probably going to end up doing the voice line intro. I still want my voice line to be "My name is Braden Bankin and I hate the Dallas Cowboys." I need that to be my line.
Well, there you go. You just made it easy.
Do you remember which episode that was?
We just did it right there. Don't need to go back.
We can metagame it and just include the part where I said I want that to be my intro line.
Yeah, there you go.
Noted.
I don't know. This team, it has games that like Brock mentioned. If they could win 3 out of the 4 Commanders-Giants games, I think that'd be a success. Because you'll have one slip up probably in the season. Every team, no matter how good they are, has a game where they lose. Where it's like, why and how did we lose that game? You leave the game immediately after, and you're like, that's a game we should have won. And it could have happened with either the Giants or the Commanders. Well, they get both of those teams to start the year, week 1 and week 2. So theoretically, those are easier games on your schedule. Baltimore at home, so you don't have to go to Baltimore. Lamar's always going to be a tough play, but at least you have that in AT&T for whatever that's worth in 2026. At Houston, I never really know what to gauge with Houston. I mentioned this earlier in the pod. Houston's a high variance team. It all depends on how CJ Stroud is playing that day. If he's playing like he did in the playoffs, Dallas wins this game by 10 plus points. If it's rookie year CJ Stroud, Texans probably win this game. Week 5 against Tampa, I'm going to spoil something when we do the NFC South. Bad vibes in Tampa. I don't really care for this team right now. I most likely see that as a win. They got Arizona. Sorry, Brock. They have them on their schedule. That's probably a win.
They're lucky Kyler's not there anymore.
True.
That's
but
all I'll say.
It's in AT&T, so. Jacoby Brissett revenge game. Isn't that one of the games?
NFL record holder Jacoby Brissett. Put respect on his name.
He's gonna break another record for most pass attempts all time in a season.
No, because Carson Beck's going to start at least a couple games.
You don't know that.
I
Do you
don't
think
put
Gardner
that on
Minshew
me.
starts a game?
know. Oh my gosh,
Is Clayton
no.
Tune still on the roster?
I don't think so.
Well, he may have played in the Hall of Fame game, right?
No, it was Beck and Keaton
Cadence.
Slovis. We're getting on.
Yeah.
Oh,
Waiting to save this for the NFC. We need to make sure the NFC West episode is like 3
Yes.
hours long.
yeah. Well, that one's going to be get your popcorn ready for the NFC West one. That one's going to be fun. But Tennessee, I don't really know what to think about Tennessee. Cam Ward should be better theoretically, but year one of Rob Saleh, I don't know. I got to see it before I get really confident. And then you have 2 more games against New York, Washington, Jacksonville. More subtractions than additions in the offseason, and even their additions, like in the draft, I didn't really like any of their selections. But like, there's games on the schedule that like Dallas should win. Like Brock, how many you do the 80% or more for what you think Dallas should win? How many games do you have? You have 4.
Washington at home, Tampa, Arizona, Tennessee.
Those are like
All those are
80%
home
higher.
games.
Yeah.
Those are my. I would put the Giants up there. The Giants just scare. Like we saw what Russ
High
did
variance
last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Saying all this to summarize my thoughts, I think Dallas's 4 is 9-8. I think their ceiling. I hate that I'm agreeing with Brock. 13-4. I dislike that so strongly. It's taking every fiber in my body to get this out. But 13-4. Realistic though. 10-7. 10-7. And just sneak in as the 7 seed, might win a game, lose in the divisional round. We sing Kumbaya at the end of the season. Does that sound good?
I was really sitting here like I don't know, man. My ceiling might be a little too high, and then it was the lowest out of all of us.
But what?
I'm
So
drinking the Kool-Aid.
my realistic record was 10-7. Braden, what was yours again?
Mine was also 10-7.
Brock.
11.
So we all think Dallas has that ceiling to be one of the best teams in the league. Do we think they're reaching that? To be
I think
determined.
that I
be
haven't
determined.
picked my division winner yet for this.
No.
It's a 2-team race, but like I'm kind of leaning towards them right now. And I mean, if that makes me someone that's
here already.
yeah, if that makes me a delusional Cowboys supporter, then I guess I'll drink the Kool-Aid by the jug, as great band Bring Me the Horizon once said in a song.
There we go. Any other thoughts on the Dallas Cowboys for moving to the last team in this division?
This is going to
Oh.
be the shortest first place team discussion ever.
I guess the only other thing I didn't add, their over/under win total is 9.5. So
Hammer the over.
do not get
LT Overton's an interesting addition. I believe they got him pretty late in the draft. Like, I want to say like 5th round, maybe. Was one of those guys that, like, at Alabama was like, oh, he's got so much potential. He could be like a top 50, top 75 pick, and then it never just really panned out. If he could kind of, what's he weighing? 6'5", 274? Yeah, just one of those, like, big body, like, kind of betweener guys. Quentin Williams is a hell of a guy to learn under. Same with Kenny Clark. Who knows?
Yeah.
Could be another big addition for that defense.
They need it. Most definitely. All right. We have to talk about the team that I think no one wants to talk about.
Do we have to?
I hate this city. That's gonna be my soundbite. My name is Brock Bierman, and I hate the city of Philadelphia.
Real quick, though, before we get into that, I have to break some news.
Whoa.
Yeah, I know. It just flip-flopped everything. The frisky Carolina Panthers did make a signing.
I saw that. I was waiting to see if we were going to talk about this. Of
I
course
have
we were going
to.
to talk about it. It's the
If
Frisky
it wasn't,
Panthers.
if it was any other team, it would not be mentioned in an episode.
Not about
Darren
them.
Waller. Something, nothing.
Yeah,
Nah.
I mean, what was our option before that? Tommy Tremble and who's the Texas guy?
Tavion Sanders.
Yeah,
I had to mention that. I had to
Yeah.
give us a buffer before we talked about the team that none of us want to talk
Let's
about.
talk about a team that everybody loves before we talk about a team
Yeah,
that
see?
all of us
See?
don't like.
A little softball, and then we talk about dun dun dun.
A spoonful of sugar before you jam the medicine down my throat.
There's your other soundbite.
Sure, man.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. All right. Hold on. The last team we're going to talk about in the NFC East is the Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles have made some big additions this offseason, signing Hollywood Brown to a 1-year, $5.5 million deal, signing corner Tariq Woolen to a 1-year, $12 million deal, re-signing Jordan Davis, and then they also re-signed Jalen Carter to a monster extension. Does that sound right? I thought it was like north of $40 million a year.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, an insane number for a defensive tackle, but he's earned it. He's a great player. And then their 2 draft picks were both on the offensive side of the ball. Mekhi Lemon, the wide receiver out of USC, and Eli Stowers, the tight end out of Vanderbilt. Guys, this team finished 11-6, won the division last year. Didn't really have any other team come close to winning this division. But the question I have for you is, will the Eagles offense struggle without A.J. Brown?
I do think they will probably notice not having AJ Brown, mainly because 80% of their game plan last year was just AJ Brown deep ball. That didn't really work out more often than not, but they did go 11-6. Mekhi Lemon isn't really necessarily a one-to-one AJ Brown guy, but I don't think he necessarily needs to be for this offense to be able to get it going. They have Devontae Smith. They signed Dontavion Wicks. Hollywood Brown, I guess, is there. Like, they have other options in the receiving game, and obviously, Saquon Barkley's still here, and Dallas Goedert. Like, they have guys in the receiving room that can eat up the AJ Brown targets if it's not Mekhi Lemon. So, I don't think they'll struggle. They will. It'll definitely be different. It'll be interesting to see how that ends up going for them, for sure.
Could they struggle? Yes. Do I think it will affect their record? No. I have them still kind of around that same area. And I'll share that when we actually pick our ceiling floor section of this. I think Lemon from USC is going to be super fun to watch and could potentially be, the best wide receiver in this draft, depending on how everything goes. And a lot of that actually has to do with the fact that he also got drafted to a team that has a good quarterback. Maybe, I'm not sure. I feel like every other day I change my opinion on whether or not I think Jalen Hurts is actually a really good quarterback or not. And maybe that's just me being a person that hates Philadelphia, or maybe there is actual conversation about that. But I think that they did a good job on boosting up that offensive side of the ball in the draft. They drafted a tight end in the 2nd round, and then also an offensive lineman in the 3rd round. So, yeah, they lost. I guess we'll see. In recent memory, I guess, one of the better receivers in the league, but we'll see how he does with the Patriots. But I don't think it'll hurt them that much. You got to remember, this team has made it before. I know AJ was on those teams, but he wasn't the only reason why these teams were making runs to the Super Bowl. At the same time, you got Saquon Barkley, man. Good Lord. As long as you have him with this roster, you're going to be in contention, or at least sniffing a potential run to the Super Bowl. Unfortunately.
Yeah, there was kind of a standstill this offseason because, both sides of the A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts saga, the Philadelphia picked a side, and they went the side with their quarterback and traded the receiver because they already have Devontae Smith, and they knew they could make other additions at wide receiver to at least, lessen the blow of losing a guy like A.J. Brown. So, like you said, they drafted Lemon. They signed Hollywood Brown. They made some other additions, signing or trading for Dontavion Wicks. it will be more of a wide receiver by committee than like, hey, we have Smith and AJ Brown, go stop that. But as Braden mentioned, half the game plan last year was run to Saquon, deep ball to AJ Brown. Run to Saquon, deep ball to AJ Brown. Like that's just there wasn't a whole lot of like variety with this offense.
They did also fire that guy. That offensive coordinator does not have his job anymore.
True. So you could look at that as an addition. Who did they end up bringing in as OC? Because Patullo's gone, but I don't remember who they ended up later.
That one's beyond me.
Here, I'll pull it up real quick. Sean Mannion was hired as the Eagles OC.
Oh yeah,
he was with Green Bay before this, so he's under that Matt LaFleur system. So you
kind
would
of
think
in that like failed NFL quarterback to offensive coordinator pipeline.
Yeah,
that seems to be kind of developing.
Which another one of these teams in this division has, which I don't know if we mentioned, David Blau's the OC for Washington, I believe. Is that
yes, sir. Replaced Cliff Kingsbury.
And there we go.
I mean, notoriously, like Kellen Moore was the OC for this team, I believe, wasn't he?
A couple years ago. Now he's the head coach
for the Saints.
Yeah. So
I thought he was with Dallas. Wasn't Kellen Moore with Dallas before? No,
he was with Dallas at one point. Yeah.
I don't remember him with the Eagles actually. That's what happened. At one point?
He was with the Eagles the year they won the Super Bowl, and then this is year 2 of him being the head coach for the Saints.
Yeah.
So,
bro, I do not remember him with the Eagles for some reason.
Yeah, he was the OC the year that they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think he started as the OC or like an assistant or the OC for the Cowboys, and then he ended up on the Chargers, I think, as either OC.
And that's what I thought he went from the Chargers
to
the Saints.
Then to the Eagles.
Yeah, there's like a weird gap year. That's right. Interesting.
And now he's the head coach for this. Again, we're finding any excuse possible to not talk about these teams.
Right, yeah.
We need to is there...
There's a couple more things I want to mention. They did sign the Red Rifle, Andy Dalton. So that's something. That's cool. And it gives me somewhat of a reason to like the Eagles. They also made a somewhat big trade for Jonathan Grenard, the DN from the Minnesota Vikings. They signed him to a 4-year, $100 million extension as well. So like he's getting quite a bag to join the Eagles. I think all the pressure now. I don't. This also could have been a question I could ask you guys. Who has more pressure heading into 2026? Is it Jalen Hurts or is it Nick Sirianni? Because I think you could make a legit argument for either guy being on the hot seat. Hot seat for Hurts might be a stretch, but like, you guys get what I'm saying.
Do Eagles fans even like Nick Sirianni?
I don't think so.
I think they won the Super Bowl and they still wanted him fired.
Yeah. Which I don't think.
And I'm not saying that there's not valid
love
points.
Jalen Hurts much anymore either, but I definitely think if they had to pick one to get rid of, it would absolutely be Sirianni.
I think it's because they know that like they'd rather take an quarterback over an what they think is an okay coach. Because if they get rid of Jalen, like if it was a situation where you had to pick between the two and they went with Sirianni, this team would blow up quickly. Like I know that he's not necessarily, I wouldn't consider an elite quarterback. He's a really good quarterback at times, but like if they got rid of him, I think that their team completely collapses with how they've structured it, at least.
I would say he varies between the 15th and the 9th best quarterback in the league. He's like tier 3 to tier 4 of quarterbacks for me, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'd probably put him in that like low A tier, high B tier type of guy where it's like he's gonna win you a couple games. They've already proven they can win a Super Bowl with him. But there are definite limitations to his game that you have to account for when building your roster. And they have done that for the most part, to their credit.
Also won the
Well-
Super Bowl off of a stupid play that they ran 50,000 times.
I mean, they won that game like 40-6. So.
Brock's
Well, I'm
talking
talking about the
everybody.
whole route and everything to the Super
Well,
Bowl.
I mean,
Sorry.
yeah. Yeah, well,
I would
that
prefer not.
conversation has been beaten into the dirt at this point. There's not much more that
Yeah.
can be.
I wish the shot meter or whatever that's in the new football video games with the
Oh,
push was as accurate as the Eagles getting a first down off of it.
No, they nuked QB
Yeah.
sneak in CFB and Madden. Even if you green it, the QB just falls to the ground.
Yeah. Yeah. It's. Yeah. I can't believe we're in
The
2026 yet.
microtransaction to get it to work. Sorry.
That's,
There you go.
why are you leaking the CFB 28 game plan?
Because Brock had
You want to
meeting
be
with
able to
EA
get a
devs.
first down on a QB sneak? $20 every time.
And they're gonna put it in the battle pass.
Oh my god. Battle pass. There we go. I just lost my train of thought.
We're good at doing that to you, aren't we?
Yeah, you are. You guys make me think about utter nonsense. But we need to stay on task and at least wrap up this recap so that way I can have something to post and we don't have to talk about it anymore. But the Eagles' floor, ceiling, and realistic expectations in 2026.
Floor 10-7. As much as I hate to say it, there are just simply too many good players on this team for it to fail in that spectacular a fashion. Ceiling, again, there are a lot of very good players on this team, especially like looking at the defense. Like Nolan Smith has a lot of upside. Zach Bond almost won like DPOY a couple years ago. Jihad Campbell showed flashes. Jonathan Grenard was like one of the more underrated edge rushers last year. Reek Wolin kind of had his moments, but overall still solid. Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter. Like, this almost seems like too good of a team to fail. And looking at the ceiling, like look at the schedule. Like the Rams, who knows how that's
Week
probably
6
going
is
to be
an
a
auto
loss.
loss. That's an auto loss week 6, by the way. If you know, you know.
Stop.
Sure, we can say that. The ceiling, I'm going to put it at 14-3. This is a good roster, and unfortunately, I think they're going to win a lot of games. Realistically, probably sits about where they were last year, around 11-12 wins.
Brock?
Yeah, it's all right, man. Just spit
the-
it out, and we don't have to talk.
The
about
more
it
you
anymore.
think about this, the longer we have to talk about the Eagles in the year 2026.
So do you want me like everything goes their way?
That's the floor and the ceiling.
16. Ceiling.
16-1.
Their defense, dude.
yeah,
Their roster.
I don't hate that.
Wow. Yeah, week
I'm
6
not
is
even
the
gonna
loss,
lie.
right?
Part of me,
Week 6 is the loss.
Stop with
Sure.
the Carolina. Sure,
Darren
they can
Waller
have the
legacy
loss
game?
against Carolina, but like,
There you go.
there are two teams. One of them we're talking about right now, and there's another one that we'll talk about later. That I think, in a hypothetical situation, if everything falls into their lap perfectly, 16. Just because we've never seen it, I won't say 17, but 17 maybe. But I'm gonna probably put the peak at 16. Like most realistic, everything goes well for you season. The structure of this roster, man, is just. I just think it's perfectly done. Like you don't have to be the best player in your position on this roster. Because there are so many really good players of their respective positions on this roster that just complement each other. We're talking about, or at least I talked about, how the Commanders don't make any sense to me. A lot of these players make sense to me with where they're placed on this roster and how everything can potentially go. God, 16. Yeah, 16-1 is the peak for me, and I'm not gonna lie. I think their record last year, maybe one less, 10 or 11 is their floor, and I got them winning around 12 games this year. And even then, I still think that 12 might be me being a little hater of the city of Philadelphia. But yeah,
That was not on the bingo card.
I see why you had to struggle to get that one out.
Yeah, fair enough.
it's again when we did our ceilings of like if everything works, like we've seen that this team is not fun to watch. First of all, I never enjoyed them. You can literally put any logo on them, and I just do not have fun watching this team. But like literally, they just keep winning. That's all they do. All they do is freaking win. And I see a world where they win 16 this year.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. It's not out of the question, but if you put a gun to my head and say the Eagles, say that the Eagles are winning 16 games this year, I'm telling you to pull the trigger. I can't do that. I simply cannot allow myself to do that.
Yeah.
I am too much of a hater for that.
I may be hedging myself because I'd rather be wrong and put it out here in the universe of like
That's fair.
Again,
there's
though,
a really good chance.
we're not at our official picks. This is just
Doesn't matter.
Oh,
It's
just
still
wait,
out
they're
there.
going to be
still
17-0 by the time the season starts.
yeah. Floor 0-17. I'm just kidding. Not 0-17.
They're going to lose to the Cardinals. God. You know
Floor
what?
0-17, ceiling 17-0. I should have just done that for every team. Given no analysis.
what?
Like they're going to play a football
Niners
season.
now. You're gonna do that for the Niners.
If
I
the
might.
Cardinals could
Who's
win,
stopping me?
if the Cardinals could win one game this year, if it
That
could be
would
against
be the
Philadelphia,
funniest game to win.
Spoiler alert: Brock's Arizona Cardinals picks. Floor 0-17. Ceiling 0-16-1.
With
that
this
would
game
be
being
even
the
worse. That's worst case scenario, dude. That's not even funny.
That is funny.
No, no. Ceiling 0-16. They somehow tie every game.
See, at that point, okay, that's fine.
That'd be
But like,
funny.
if there was one tie and it was against Philadelphia, that means I went through the whole game being like, "Oh my god, we might actually do this," and then they didn't. Not only did they not do it, neither did Philly.
Yeah. What was my train of thought? Oh, every season that Jalen Hurts has started since 2022, he wins at least 11 games. So, like, safe to assume that's probably a relatively safe floor, is 11 wins. Because even in 2023, when they lost like 4 games in a row to the end of the year, and they lost in the first round to Tampa Bay, like they still went 11-6. So, like, I feel like 11 wins just kind of has to be the floor by default.
You said since 2022.
Since 2022. If you take out his first full year starting in 2021, every single year since 2022, he's won at least 11 games as a starter. So, I will say though,
that's one of those stats.
It is, but it also means something. Like, you can chalk it up to the Eagles' talent, but you also can chalk it up to, in 2022, he was second in MVP. Like, he does have years on his resume where it's like, oh, this dude was playing really well.
Yeah.
The only tough part I have with the Eagles this year is Hurts. I just don't know. I don't know if Hurts is going to play well without, because even despite all the back and forth drama between those two of AJ and Jalen, I mean, Jalen was still balling out when AJ was on the field. And the last time Jalen didn't have AJ Brown on the field, he was 16 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, and threw for 209 yards a game. So, not a great stat line by any means. Granted, he only played 15 games that year, so he's missing 2 games of starts. But I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to be as high as 16-1, but I would say they're just. This might be crazy. 4-11-6, ceiling 12-5, gut prediction 12-5. I mean, there's not a whole lot of outcomes where I could see this team falling unless something catastrophic happens. Even if they fire Sirianni, I still think they'd be like a good team this year, if that makes sense. Again, I don't think a coaching loss would really sway this team one direction either way a lot. But yeah, just kind of feels like 12-5, and we're down to week 17, 18 for the division. So that's just my gut feeling right now. But do you guys have anything else to add before we wrap up this episode? This chaotic roller coaster of an episode?
I don't drink, but this episode got me close.
Yeah. Bust out the bottle of Crown, Brock.
I still have that unopened.
Next time the Celtics win the chip. Or the Arizona Cardinals win a game.
Ooh. If they beat the Eagles. If they beat the Eagles, the one win.
Well, hold on. We got to set a guideline. Like, it can't be just like a bad team. It's got to be at least like a couple decent teams.
No, I think if Arizona completes perfectly bad, if Arizona goes 0-17,
I won't put anything on record because I won't put anything on the record. Unfortunately, boys.
Oh, boo.
Lame.
Now, not even if they go 17-0. Carson Beck wins MVP.
I want to be stone cold sober watching that because I want to have the idea of like, I want to make sure that there's no way that this is like a fairy tale if they go 17-0. I want to be sober for that because if I choose to go, if they go 17-0.
Yeah. Maybe.
I was so glad all those guys were there to watch the Cardinals do exactly what they did last week. It was really fun. David Johnson was there. Larry Fitzgerald was there. It wasn't ever Larry's fault.
I kind of want to do the NFC West as our next one episode we do, but man, I feel like that one's just too good.
We gotta save that one for last.
Yeah,
we gotta save that one.
Should I break out one of my 3 Cardinals jerseys? Should I break out the Kyler one or one of the other 2?
You know what? Don't tell me and Braden and just show up to that recording with whatever jersey you select.
I wish I had an actual David Johnson jersey. I have that signed one,
but
like, I'm not breaking that out.
You could. You have time.
I don't know if DHgate would be able to give me one.
I'm sure eBay's got one out there. I'm sure. But
that's true.
Anything else to add before I hit end recording on this episode?
Please, put me out of my misery.
All right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in to this fantastic episode. Even with the ups and downs, we got through. We got through and talked about a division that wasn't necessarily the most fun team to talk about. But for Brock Bierman, Braden Bankin, and myself, Dawson Livingston, we are signing off tonight.
I hate this division.